welcome back to Book Chat with Jackie. Now, joining us in the studio is a young local author who has written a wonderful book called Shadows of Light. Over to you, Jackie.
Hi, I'd like to, you, Denise, and everyone listening to welcome Aaliya Finlay to the show today.
Hi,
how are you, Aaliya?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, thank you. Aaliya, I really admire what you've done as in terms of being able to publish a book, because you've actually self-published your own book, which is from what I know, is a very hard slog. And the way we met is that you actually popped into your local bookstore and were talking about your book because you need to promote your book on yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
So can you tell me, I'm sure the people listening would be really keen to hear about how, the self-publishing process is. What's it all about? How does it happen?
Have you got a few hours? So, I had a couple of choices. I could try mainstream publishers, I could try an agent, or I could self-publish my book. I tried 2 mainstream publishers and received rejection letters, which I treasure. But my book is a kind of niche market where, it's got a little bit of religious content, but it's not a Christian book. And so, I couldn't market it to mainstream publishers because it's got too much religious content. Couldn't market it to religious publishers because it's got too much mainstream content.
Yeah.
So I decided to self-publish. Had a lot of different options and things like that. I've done it in the United States because they were the cheapest, and they print their books in Australia, so they do a lot of the marketing over there in the US. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background in the US, and then I'm organising the marketing for Australia.
So you're predominantly doing the marketing yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
And had you had any experience in marketing before?
No, not at all. But it's funny because and I'm just picking things up as I go, but it's so much fun, and it's so diverse, and it's really interesting. You get to meet new people, and you get to do things you've never done before. I'm actually really enjoying the marketing of it. I think I'm at the point where I'm maybe burning out a little bit from it. But, it's really exciting as well.
You said you cherished the rejection letters from the mainstream publishers. Did they actually talk to you about why they couldn't, they weren't choosing to publish your book? Is that why you treasured them, because they gave you feedback in that way, or?
Not so much. I think, I take the outlook of what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. But it's kind of just exciting for me to get these letters, and it gives me a little bit of push to really, prove them wrong. The rejection letters that I received, they were quite generic. One of them was probably just a copy and paste job.
Like a form letter sort of thing.
That's right. The other one said, thank you for your well-written manuscript. They try and add the personal touch, but I'm sure they still send the same template to everyone. But, I don't have any hard feelings against those publishers. I certainly wasn't expecting to get in straight away with a publisher, but I did want to try that avenue because I think it's important to kind of experience it all.
Absolutely. Well, let's just take a step back to where your writing journey began. So as we were saying, you've got your book called Shadows of Light. Now, before we go into what the actual book's about, when did you start writing, Aaliya? When did you first put your pen to paper?
It's hard to pinpoint the exact date. It's funny because the story starts out with the girl Aaliya is about to go back to work, and that's where I was when I started writing it.
This is in the novel, Shadows of Light.
That's right. So I'd had a month off work, and I was about to go back to work, and I was so depressed because I had no prospects of ever, getting out of it. I had to kind of let it all out sort of thing, and it was probably end of January 2009 that I started writing it, and by June of the same year I'd finished it.
So was that the first time that you'd ventured into writing? Did you?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
So I'd started a couple of screenplays and things like that. I was kind of interested in writing like a movie or a play or something, just something to kind of get the creative juices going. And I spoke to one of my friends who was writing a novel, and he said to me, why don't you just write a book? And then maybe one day you can turn it into a screenplay. So I started writing and I got the bug and I could not stop.
So had you had any training or anything in writing? So you just thought, I'm going to write this book and went for it?
Yeah, I hadn't had any training. I didn't finish school, so I'm probably one of those people that doesn't deserve to be an author, in that context.
No, because I think one of the important things to do actually is not to always feed that misconception that you've had to have done a course, that you have to have a degree or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because it's really important that writing isn't just about the technique of writing, it's also about your passion for doing it. Because writing a novel is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. So I don't ever want to hear that, Aaliya.
Did you actually have a flair for English or something? Like, did you actually feel that you could, before you even, when your friend suggested, why don't you have a go?
Yeah.
If someone said that to me, I'd just go, oh my God, where do you start?
Yeah.
But did you feel like you somewhere in the back of your mind even that you had a bit of a flair for writing?
Not so much. I used to write songs.
Okay. They've been creative, obviously. Yeah.
So I used to, write songs because I wanted to be a singer for a little while back there. I guess from that sense, I was writing that kind of thing. I didn't realise how amazing it would feel to write a book, and how much more creative, part of my creativeness I could put into something like that. So, yeah, it was
And what about, are you a reader?
I am a reader.
Okay.
I'm probably at the moment more of a writer.
Yeah.
Because I find if I read a book, I can't stop reading. So I have to start it, finish it. No one can disturb me. I'm very kind of involved with it. Yeah. So when I'm writing, I try not to read too much. Recently I've been trying to read some of the Jane Austen novels because I find the English language back then really fascinating. And then just the subtleties of the love stories and things like that I also find really interesting.
That's reading those is actually a good way to learn, because as you're saying, the storylines and the plots of great writers, it's very good to read it and go, how did they do that and how did they go along that line? So when you came to write your novel, did you just sit down and start writing, or did you plot out your characters and the storyline? What was your process?
So it started with I just started writing. I took it into work, and there was a girl at work that read it, and it was the first chapter, and she said to me, don't mean to be mean, but it's way too quick. And that was really good for me, just to have that real feedback straight up. So I kind of stopped. I turned about 6 pages into, I think, about 30, and split it out into, more than one chapter. So, that whole process was a big learning experience for me. What I then did is I plotted out, I don't remember how many chapters it was, but a basic storyline of where I wanted to go, and just a couple of sentences for each chapter, and I wrote character bios from each of the characters, and on my website I've actually got some of them up there, so you can see their favourite colours and just little things about their personality.
How did you think to do that? That's quite a technical. That's actually quite a technical process, but did you research it, or did you just feel that that's what needed to happen?
Yeah, no, I didn't research it at all. I just felt like that's what needed to happen. And it was funny because I spoke to my mum about it, and I said, I don't know if maybe I need to do a course or something to really understand, how to write properly. And she said, no. If you do that, you'll never finish it. Just write it, and you can just fix it up later. And it was probably the best advice that I've been given, because, I can get overwhelmed with things. So I think...
Oh, it's very easy to write a novel as well. And that's one of the things they actually tell you in a course, is just write it first. You can go back and fix it later, because the biggest thing is the procrastination.
Getting it out of your system, so to speak.
Yes, because you can always go back and redraft and fix the English and all that sort of thing. But if it's still in your head...
You can't do much with it.
Exactly right. Yeah. We might have a break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about your characters and the book.
Okay, great.
You're listening to Creative Corner and Book Chat on 88.9 Win FM.